Welcome to the deep dive. Let's consider, for a moment, the incredible journey of a brand new medication.
hmm
Think about maybe a promising cancer therapy. Let's just call it Pathfinder X for now.
Okay.
It starts as, a scientific idea in a lab, goes through all this rigorous testing, and eventually, we hope, becomes a life-saving treatment you can get at the pharmacy.
It's a long road.
It is.
Yeah.
And we often focus on the brilliant scientists, right? Or maybe the big regulatory hurdles.
Sure, the headlines.
Exactly. But what if we told you that a seemingly small yet absolutely critical piece of that whole massive puzzle relies on something as precise as a single blood sample?
Just one sample.
Elected perfectly.
Yeah.
We're talking about the integrity of those vital biospecimens.
Yeah, it's an area that doesn't always get the spotlight, certainly,
Mm.
but its impact is just monumental, really.
Right.
So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack the pivotal role, I'd almost say the unsung role, of certified clinical research phlebotomists, specifically those holding the NCCR-PT credential. We want to look at how they ensure clinical trial quality for drugs like that Pathfinder X.
And how that speeds things up.
And ultimately, yeah, accelerating the approval of these critical medications.
So our mission today is really to reveal how, meticulous attention to detail right at the start
At the very beginning.
can have these huge impacts on medical breakthroughs for all of us.
Absolutely.
And we're drawing our insights today from an illuminating article. It's titled NCCR-PT Certification, Elevating Clinical Trial Specimen Integrity.
Published by Clinical Research Publishing?
Yeah, back in July 2001. So let's dig in.
Okay. So when we talk about clinical trials, you have to understand the stakes are incredibly high.
Right.
These trials fundamentally rely on precise collection, processing, and crucially, careful chain of custody for biological specimens.
To the custody, okay.
Yeah. And these samples, they're critical for a whole range of analyses, things like pharmacokinetics.
Which is how the drug moves through the body.
It's exactly. Absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion, getting that timing and measurement perfect. And then pharmacodynamics.
How the drug affects the body.
Precisely. The drug-specific effects, maybe at a cellular level, maybe systemically.
Yeah.
Plus, they're vital for safety evaluations and exploratory biomarker analyses, too.
Oh, okay.
So without totally uncompromised samples, the integrity of these, critical models for dosing and efficacy, it's just fundamentally flawed.
So it sounds like if something goes wrong with the sample right at the very beginning, it could basically compromise everything that follows.
Oh, absolutely.
That seems like a massive weak point for something as vital as, our Pathfinder X example.
It is, absolutely. I mean, just imagine a multi-million-dollar clinical trial, maybe years into development, involving a drug like Pathfinder X, and then a batch of crucial samples gets compromised just because of mishandling.
Oof.
That's not just like a minor hiccup. It can mean rerunning entire phases of the trial, which adds years and potentially hundreds of millions of dollars in costs. Or even worse, it could outright invalidate the trial's data.
So one bad sample could stop a potentially life-saving drug in its tracks.
It really can. And that's precisely where this nationally certified clinical research phlebotomy technician credential, the NCCR-PT, comes into play.
Okay.
It's offered by the National Clinical Research Certification Association, the NCRCA.
Okay, you've really underlined how serious sample integrity is, but let me ask this, just practically speaking. Isn't drawing blood a fairly routine procedure for lots of medical professionals?
It often seems that way, yes.
So what makes a clinical research phlebotomist so different, so specialized, that they need this specific certification, beyond their general medical training?
That's a really critical distinction to make. This isn't just about someone who, knows how to find a vein and draw blood.
Right.
It's about a deeply validated professional operating within a very specific research ecosystem. So the certification validates a professional's ability to perform venipuncture, also capillary collection, but according to specific study protocols.
Okay. The protocol is key.
It is. And these protocols can be incredibly detailed, very nuanced for each individual drug trial.
Right.
It also confirms their skill in maintaining that chain of custody we mentioned, ensuring accurate labeling and, the overall integrity of the biospecimens.
And regulations.
Crucially, yes. They have to operate under stringent regulatory frameworks, specifically Good Clinical Practice, or GCP.
GCP, yeah, heard of that.
FDA regulations, of course, and also the International Council for Harmonization, or ICH, guidelines. These set global standards for drug development.
So really strict rules.
They're non-negotiable in this field. So it's not just a technical skill like drawing blood. It's a much more holistic understanding of the entire research environment that really sets them apart.
That makes a lot more sense. It's this whole framework, this understanding of all the rules and why they matter. And the article we're looking at highlights 4 key pillars, you could say, of importance for clinical trials that really speak to this. Let's start with the first one, data quality and protocol compliance.
Right. So errors in sample collection, things like mislabeling, maybe getting the timing wrong or improper handling, these can directly compromise the trial data.
Which is obviously bad.
It's not just inconvenient, it can actually invalidate the results. So certified phlebotomists, they follow these very standardized protocols. And that significantly reduces what we call pre-analytic variability.
Pre-analytic variability, okay.
Basically errors that happen before the analysis even starts. Reducing that leads to much more accurate data for things like the pharmacokinetic and biomarker evaluations we talked about.
Which you need for reliable findings.
Essential for reliable scientific findings, absolutely.
Can you maybe give us a concrete example, maybe something surprising? A common error that a certified person is trained to avoid, but someone else might easily miss.
Oh, sure. A good example, and it's pretty common, is improper sample temperature during transport. Or even just leaving a sample sitting out too long after it's collected before it gets processed.
Doesn't seem like a huge deal, maybe.
Well, for many drug metabolites or specific biomarkers, their stability can degrade really rapidly outside a very specific temperature range or even just after a certain amount of time.
Right.
So someone without that specific training might not realize just how sensitive that sample is. An NCCR-PT certified professional, however, is trained to understand and meticulously stick to these highly specific stability windows and storage conditions that are laid out in the trial protocol.
So they prevent the data from degrading before it even gets near the lab.
Exactly. They stop the problem before it starts.
And ensuring that data integrity, well, that brings us to the regulatory agencies, doesn't it? Like the FDA. How does this certification help with them?
Yeah, it acts as a really crucial trust signal for regulators.
A trust signal, I like that.
Yeah, because agencies like the FDA, they intensely scrutinize data integrity and adherence to GCP. It's a huge part of their review.
Makes sense.
So the NCCR-PT certification provides this independent third-party validation of procedural competence.
So it's not just the company saying, we did it right.
Exactly. It gives both the trial sponsors, the drug companies, and the regulators much greater confidence in the data that ultimately gets submitted for review. It's kind of like a stamp of quality.
Okay.
It says, look, this data was collected by someone who truly understands the stringent requirements of clinical research.
Okay, so beyond just the data and, compliance rules, there's the human element, patient safety, ethical considerations. How does the NCCR-PT address those?
That's a vital point. Absolutely. The certification includes formal training in patient rights, infection control, IAPA, privacy compliance, and just broader ethical conduct in research. These are absolutely critical components for any research that involves human subjects.
You're not messing around with that.
No way. Ensuring patient well-being and privacy is paramount. It really does underscore that human element, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That behind every single data point for a drug like our Pathfinder X example, there's a real patient, someone entrusting their well-being to this whole process.
That's a really important perspective. Okay, finally, the fourth pillar, operational efficiency, because, well, time is money, right? Especially in clinical research.
Precisely. Huge amounts of money. Certified phlebotomists bring some immense practical benefits to the table here.
Like what?
Well, they reduce the amount of time needed for training new personnel. For one, they minimize protocol violations.
Fewer mistakes.
Fewer mistakes, which means cleaner execution of the trial itself. And just consider this. Each day, a clinical trial is delayed.
Yeah.
It can cost a pharmaceutical company anywhere from, say, $50,000 to upwards of $2 million per day.
Wow, that's staggering.
It is. So certified phlebotomists, by minimizing those errors and the need for rework, they don't just save days, they can potentially save tens of millions of dollars.
And speed up the drug getting to market.
Exactly. They can accelerate a drug's market entry by months, which directly impacts patient access to a treatment like Pathfinder X.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. All this meticulous effort, the training, the protocols. How does this critical work directly translate into a new medication actually getting approved and reaching patients? Because that's the goal, right?
That is the ultimate goal. That's the crux of it all, really. Specimen quality is directly linked to the successful approval of new medications.
Directly linked.
Correctly. Imagine the consequence of poor sample handling we talked about. It can cause significant delays in data analysis.
Yeah.
Or even worse, it might necessitate costly, time-consuming recollection of samples.
Setting everything back.
Pushing back the approval timeline for something important like Pathfinder X, maybe by months or even years.
So what the certified folks do?
What certified phlebotomists do is ensure that the biological data, the data used in those critical drug efficacy and safety analyses, is robust, it's complete, and it's fully audit-ready.
Audit-ready. That sounds important for regulators.
Very. It directly supports a timely regulatory review process and ultimately leads to the approval of new medications.
Right.
Without reliable samples, the entire engine for developing a new therapy just grinds to a halt.
It really sounds like this certification should be, well, universal for anyone doing this specific job in research, if it's that impactful.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't it already mandatory? Like across all clinical research sites, are there practical barriers or maybe debates about making it universal?
That's a really thoughtful question, and yeah, it's something the industry is still grappling with to some extent.
Okay.
The article makes a very compelling case for why all clinical research phlebotomists really should be NCCR-PT certified.
The benefits seem clear.
They are. It ensures consistency of procedures across all trial locations, which is absolutely vital for these big multi-site studies where you're collecting data from, dozens of different places.
Right. Need everyone on the same page.
Exactly. It significantly reduces risk, fewer adverse events potentially for patients, and fewer compliance violations for the research site itself.
So why isn't it everywhere then?
Well, as for why it's not universally mandated yet, it often comes down to things like differing site-level practices, sometimes varying budgets for training.
Cost.
Yeah, the initial investment in training and certification fees can be a factor. Some sites might rely more on their own in-house training programs or perhaps more general phlebotomy certifications.
Which aren't as specific.
Which aren't as specific to the research context exactly. However, the benefits of NCCR-PT, particularly for these large, complex trials, are becoming increasingly undeniable.
So the tide might be turning.
I think so. It demonstrates a clear commitment to higher professional standards, better adherence to clinical research best practices, and, importantly, for the trial sponsors.
The drug companies again.
Yes. It undeniably increases their confidence. It builds much greater trust in both the trial data and in the clinical research site itself.
So it's really a win-win-win. Better data, safer trials, more trust.
It really is. It's pushing for more widespread adoption over time, certainly.
So let's bring it back to the listener. What does this all mean for you? It means that the next time you hear about a groundbreaking new drug, or maybe a life-saving therapy, perhaps like our imagined Pathfinder X, you'll know there's this critical, often unseen foundation of precision and professionalism supporting it all.
Absolutely. That NCCR-PT certification directly connects to the success of clinical trials and ultimately the approval of medications, simply by safeguarding the quality of those biological samples collected during research.
Yeah.
In today's increasingly regulated high-stakes research environment, these certified clinical research phlebotomists, they're truly essential. Essential for advancing medical breakthroughs safely, ethically, and effectively.
Yeah, it's clear. In a world where we often celebrate the big, headline-grabbing scientific discoveries.
The breakthroughs, yeah.
We've seen today just how critical the meticulous, often invisible work is. The work that underpins every single medical advancement.
It's the foundation.
It really is. Which kind of raises an important question for us to maybe leave with you, the listener.
Okay.
When we think about medical progress, are we sufficiently valuing these roles? The ones that ensure the integrity of the foundational data, not just, the big innovations themselves.
That's a great question. How much do we appreciate the people ensuring the building blocks are sound?
Exactly. And what other hidden layers of detail, what other meticulous processes are just as critical to progress, just waiting for us to, deep dive into?